other side, the SEC handed in a request for more time so they could amend their claim. And then on March 17th, which I believe was Monday, Judge Carroll said that she's thinking about it, but has not yet granted that extension. Is that correct so far?
Nope, you got it entirely wrong.
Okay, perfect. That's why we have you on the show, you see?
Yeah. Okay, let's start with the premise that that they're going to file an amended complaint. We haven't seen anything from them saying that they actually are. So they just wanted some additional time to analyze the ass kicking they got and figure out whether or not they can fix any part of it and save their complaint. Second part of that is the judge did give them she did grant the request until April 21st.
So that's granted. Okay.
That is granted. However, if you want my just complete speculation on this is my guess. I mean, they came out with the ruling on February 28th or something like that. There really, there wasn't, I seriously doubt there was enough time to get it, analyzed and on the commissioner meeting for the following week or even the following 2 weeks. So my guess is that they asked the court for additional time. So if this has to be something that's decided by the commissioners, yes, we should amend and try to move forward with this case, or no, we shouldn't, we should just let it go. That would have to be a commissioner meeting. And that, since it only happens once a week and can go to vote only once a week, I think we're kind of bound by that schedule. And I think the court probably thought the same thing, like, fine, let's give them some time to review it and pitch it to the commissioners one way or the other. I don't really believe that they're going in there saying, "Oh shit, yeah, we can win this thing. We can draft a complaint correctly this time, guys. Trust us, we won't let the intern do it this time." I really don't think that's the pitch. I think they're going to walk in there just like I would walk into my client and say, "Listen, the judge just handed us our ass for these 13 reasons. I maybe can find a way to fix 2 of them." But that doesn't mean that it's worth even trying. So if they're being honest with their bosses, and I'm sure they are, because all their bosses are attorneys too. Mark's an attorney, Hester's an attorney. They all understand what goes on in court and what judges mean when they say things. So this ruling doesn't leave a lot in doubt. Like this is a super high hurdle to get over. So if they're being honest with the commissioners, they're probably saying something along the lines of, "Yeah, we took a look at it. We sent out subpoenas. We got answers back. We didn't get anything new that we could use to amend this complaint. Not sure it's going to work. So why don't we just have a talk with Richard's team and work this out," or whatever, something along those lines. And maybe maybe they want to pitch it. Maybe they want to, have a conversation with Richard's team and say, well, we're still thinking about it, or we can just walk and, sign something and you guys can be free of us forever.
So you see a chance actually for an out of court settling happening during this?
It's possible. I mean, it's always possible, but Richard's team does talk about, like, in the letter, they do say that Richard's team wanted to have a meeting over at the SEC. So who knows what that? They didn't bother to tell us what that agenda was going to be, or it wouldn't even be proper for them.
That is the one point where I'm struggling a bit with the timeline, because I think you also posted this last Friday or Saturday, that SEC letter, and that was then issued on the court documents, and said, this just came out. I haven't had a chance yet to read it properly, but I think you posted that. And then on page 2, it has already included a response from Richard's team.
Yes,
where they
and
said,
they're generally
no, you had 400 days to get your act together. Why start now? Sort of a response. So are we, the public, sort of hearing this last? And has this then been going back and forth already all week long? Or
yeah, here's how that process actually works. Like, counsel gets on the phone with other counsel. SEC probably called them up and said, "Hey, we're not going to get this done, and we don't have the ability to even get an answer from our bureaucratic machine in 20 days. So we want an extension." And Richard R's team said, no.
Yeah.
And and they said,
That,
well,
with that sound effect,
yeah,
exactly.
we're gonna file a if you don't grant us an extension, we're gonna ask the court for one. And Richard seems like, yeah, whatever, go right ahead. And in those types of filings, you generally are required by most courts, not all. I mean, every court does it kind of differently. But if you have an opposed motion that you want to file, you kind of generally have to put in a statement from the other side verbatim. So, the call probably went like, okay, well, if you're going to oppose this, send me the statement you want us to include in our letter motion to the court, and we'll include it. And then that's what happens. And then the SEC just puts it in there. They can't change it. It has to go in exactly the way it came across on the email. And then it gets filed with the court. So court knows the positions of both parties, and they don't have to wait for, the typical motion time frame to review. For Richard to file a response. If they file a regular motion, you're looking at like a 15-day response time by Richard. And there was a deadline here, so it makes more sense for them to take this process by filing a letter with Richard's position already stated in it. And so the judge knows exactly where both sides are. So that's kind of how it works.
Okay, cool. So here we are then. Here we're stuck. We now have to wait another month until 20th of April, which I believe is the new deadline, for then to see an amended complaint, which should kind of tackle the issue of jurisdiction, which, as we already discussed on Twitter, would seem very hard.
Yeah, there's a couple of possibilities. I mean, they could have the commissioner meeting, and they could both decide that, or the commissioners could take a vote and say we're not moving forward with this. In which case, we would find out earlier, because they're not going to make the judge wait on that answer. They're just going to, wave the white flag, file something, saying that they're not going to file something, and we're done. Okay. That's the best possible scenario. Yes. The second best possible scenario is we wait till the 20th of April, and and we find out whether or not they actually file an amended complaint. And I still don't see them getting over that giant hurdle, because they're not going to have any new facts towards jurisdiction that they didn't already have. I mean, they've got to have facts have to be during the time frame. So unless they,
I thought that they mentioned that they had newfound facts through the actual, ever since the complaint was filed. Yeah. Since then, they have had new discoveries. They cited that on the request, didn't they?
I think they said that they were going to look through. I don't think they actually mentioned anything, and I certainly don't think they named one single fact. If they had this information, like, why hide it from the judge during the hearing when she's asking about it, right? So if they
but
had
to me, this is such I mean, it's affecting us, of course, and you see it in the charts, but
it's priced in, I think.
It's still like a nothing burger, because the judge, to me, went through 6 pages long why there has been no jurisdiction. Like, he's living in Finland. There has been, during the offerings period, no payments taken in the US from American, just having a website about it. Then his appearance at the conferences was after the offering, not during the offerings period, which would have been problematic. All these things, and these things are true. Like, that is not...
Yeah, they're undisputed facts.
That is